Well, that was kind of weird. We got an error message. Hopefully, we're live. I'm double checking to make sure we actually went live.
I'm checking right now. It looks like we did.
Okay.
I believe
That
we're
was a
live.
rough start. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm seeing us live, so I'll take it. Oh man. Well, welcome everybody. Appreciate everybody being here. And yeah, you know the drill. Like, sub, share. You know it.
All that good stuff.
Yes, we got a special guest tonight, but Jar's gonna introduce him, and then we'll just kind of get right into it here because we started a few minutes late.
So once again, we have our favorite friend over here, Joël Valenzuela from Dash. You want to bring him on board? There we go. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
It hasn't been too long, just like maybe a few weeks.
Yeah, but you know me, and I'm Mr. Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere. So
yeah, you're definitely a hardworking man.
Yeah, always whenever things pop off, I'm always there for that. And today, of course, is a special time. In the spirit of plurality, I'm wearing a Xano shirt.
Oh, nice,
folks! They're very good people. Beautiful. And we're going to be talking about, of course, Dash, but also Zcash tech. So it just kind of feels appropriate to see how everything's all kind of uniting now. Very divisive crypto world, but now things are getting much better, I feel.
Definitely. So a lot of integrations that are happening right now. Is everything live with Zcash with the implementation of that, or how are we looking right?
So let me sort of give the
background,
story, the brief
information
as far as I'll get into the technical details of what this means and all that later, but just as far as like, so last week, 2 weeks, whatever, week and a half ago, I was in Mexico City for Monerotopia, which is a Monero conference that is much more open, and it's not like a maxi conference, so there's lots of other people there. I was giving a talk on Saturday, again a week before this Saturday, and I happened to wake up early in the morning just randomly, and I checked my messages, and I got our lead dev saying, "Hey, guess what? I figured out how to make this stuff work." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that is huge." And so I went and like quickly edited my slides at like 7 in the morning, fixing my slides up for that day so I could give a teaser. And then of course it's like, well, that's this Thursday. We're going to officially unveil a demo, like a working demo. And I'm like, wow. So from Saturday to Thursday, I jumped on board finding, for example, potential code auditors for if this hits mainnet, finding budget for that, lining up for media and PR and getting announcements ready and just everything. And then that's why we had this nice little splash on Thursday. But basically that's kind of where it happened. A lot of this stuff came together very quickly. And so it's as soon as it was guaranteed that, oh, this is working, we figured out how to make this work. And that we have confidence that this will make it to mainnet in not too, long of a time frame. That's when we kind of went on this. So that's kind of where it's at. It's just kind of like this all came together in the last like couple weeks, and now it's like as far as when, there's always timeline. Like timelines are just the worst for people who build things, right? Because you never know how long it's going to take. You never.
That's true.
Especially very complex type things. But let's hope in like 6-8 weeks or something we get something. But basically, I'm gonna just say I hope it's the first half of this year. Let's just say I really
hope that's good. That's a good estimate.
So again, if it's like late March, early April, and everything, it's like that would be just absolutely amazing. But like if it's like May, June, still for this much, for this big of a thing, I think that would be more. I'd still be ecstatic. This is kind of like an end of the year type of a thing that would make more sense based on the gravity of the upgrade. But if it's before the end of the year, first half of the year, I think that'd be amazing.
Great. I should go ahead, CCM. I wasn't sure if you're going to say something.
Oh no, I was just gonna agree with what he's saying. It would be good to get it like bam and right out there. So go ahead, Jar, put whatever.
Yeah, no, well, people are probably talking, wondering what we're talking about, because I heard he just jumped into the question, but I didn't actually bring up the article, which is this right over here. It's the integration of Zcash, Orchid Privacy. Now, this is a side chain. Is that correct? This is
Yeah. So let me sort of explain how, as far as like the Dash architecture, right? Dash,
right.
a proof of work mined, loosely Bitcoin based network. It's been here for 12 years. The masternode system sits on top of it to add a bunch of extra features, but that's kind of what it is at its core. Now, a couple of years ago, the Evolution chain launched, which only resides with the masternode network. The special masternode is called EVA nodes, as it turns out. But basically, that's an entirely proof of stake chain that's run as I like to use the term enshrined side chain if you want to get technical, because it's a side chain, but it's also run by the same validators that have like shared security, etc., which is kind of a big thing. It's not like, well, this is the good secure chain and this is the terrible, more centralized, whatever. It's like parallel. So this second chain does a lot of more advanced experimental things, a lot of like writing data and tokens and all this kind of stuff. And so that's the one that's getting an Orchard based on the Zcash Orchard Tech shielded pool that basically will make like completely private credit transfers at first, which are, Dash on that chain, but also tokens next. So that's going to be the fun part.
Right. So when I was reading about this, you're basically putting in a deposit of Dash and then you're minting tokens that will be used on the sidechain, and then you get credited back. Is that sort of the process that it's supposed to follow?
Yeah, basically it's just trustless bridging of Dash from one chain to the other. So what happens is there's something called an asset lock where the coins get locked up and then they get created on the other side. And then in order to unlock them, you have to burn, destroy a certain amount, and then they're back on this side. So it's not like there's two different balances. It's one total balance of the under 19 million eventual limit of Dash, but then you could have some on this and some on the other side. And the bridging process works pretty fast. Like, I'm not sure about back to the core chain at least, but to the Evolution chain, it's like seconds. You just, because I've done it before, I've moved it to just top up my account to do data transfers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Excellent. And from a user perspective, will this integration do anything or change anything like interface related for the people who are already using Dash?
Yes. So this is where like the user experience magic has to be kind of built in. But it should be able to be where you have a wallet and you have your transparent balance or whatever, and you just click a button and it moves to the fully private balance, just like that. And back end, you're moving it to a different blockchain and into a private pool, but it's just pretty much that simple. You could go back and forth with just like one click and very quickly. There's a few like caveats and things like that as far as how soon some of the speed and efficiency of some of these features might be, but you should be able to just like bridge all in one transaction to where if you, let's just say you have someone who hasn't really, some merchant who just takes Dash and they haven't updated to recognize the other chain, you should be able to just bridge it in all one transaction. So in just like a few seconds, like 3 seconds or something, go from fully private to the fully transparent receiving, and you don't even have to know that there was any. All you see as like a merchant or whatever is just, no, it just came from this one weird address. I don't know what that is.
Okay. And I probably should mention, because we are starting to get a couple of questions in the chat, and thank you to everybody in the chat, by the way. Welcome. Appreciate you being here. We kind of just jumped right into this episode before we even went out there and said hey to everybody. But we'll get to the questions. If you do have questions, go ahead and put them in. Even if we don't get to them right away, I'm starring them so we can definitely go back and get to those questions. So we will get to those questions, and thank you for all of those. Jar, speaking of questions, did you have another question you wanted to throw in there to kind of keep us moving along?
Like I was just the upgrade itself. I just want to know if this is like a revenue generating upgrade for Dash, or is this purely on the privacy side, because there's so much interest just in privacy alone.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, I mean, revenue is just what happens when people use your stuff, right? So hopefully this as a value add really brings a lot of people on board. And I know that privacy has always been a part of Dash. Um, Sometimes to leverage it to its full capacity, the previous tools have been maybe clunky or something like that, but this
Mhm.
could hopefully make things work. Also, increasingly as we're starting to use other do data applications, other things on this other application chain, um, having no privacy or very little privacy on it has been maybe a barrier between making it like super serious as far as like, oh, I send you some credits or I make you a CCM token and send it to all my subscribers or whatever. And everyone can see that I sent to all these subscribers. And so that's not a big problem as long as it's fun. But if you're like, here,
Right.
I'm going to send you some shares in this company or whatever, and
Yeah.
that's not private, that starts to get a little sketchy. So
Right.
that
Yeah.
that's kind of what it does. I think that private tokens. I haven't done the market research specifically, but I'm pretty sure that we will have a lot of extra revenue use cases out of it because, for example, Zano, our friends over at Zano have a private token layer as well, kind of built more on the Monero tech, and
Mhm.
you have uh, Zcash shielded assets has been an idea that's been thrown out, and also like nearly completed code, as far as I'm aware, that has gotten some controversy as of late. So maybe it won't happen on Zcash or it won't happen for a while. But there was just a lot of good ideas about fully private tokens, and so some of this is like stable coins, right? Where you're like, okay,
Right.
I want to be able to transact in a dollar amount because I don't like. I'm not speaking for myself clearly here, but for people who want to do that and they want to do it completely privately, that seems like a killer app. There could be some other things like, as I mentioned, like revenue share tokens, things like that that you'd want
Mhm.
to be able to use and have be completely private. And
Yes.
especially this starts to get interesting on the Dash side of things because we have like decentralized applications you can build. And for those, you can token gate them. You can say you can only post in my social media network if you have this specific token. And so you kind of like buy a token and then you like a membership token. Sometimes you
Ah,
don't want everyone to know
yeah.
which things do you have like membership tokens or credentials to. So if that's all private, that's another use case as far as like you don't want to see like who are all the people that like, oh, I see that you are a member of all these social networks, or I see you're a member of this, or I see you have login credentials to that hidden on your thing, and or oh, I see how much you can post before you like run out of money, and therefore make fun of you for being a broke person or something. Whatever it is, there's just a lot of reasons why you would want privacy for a rich tokenized environment.
Yep. That's funny. I was going to ask you about some of the use cases. I appreciate the fact that you kind of already threw some out there. Now, uh, Dash itself has a coin join feature to help to increase
Mhm.
privacy. Now, I'm assuming there's not going to be any change with regard to that once this is all fully implemented. But how do you see them operating together? And Andy, by the way, thank you for this question. She's kind of, I think, asking a similar question here. So I'll bring it up right now and feel free to answer that however you'd like.
Yeah, so privacy and scaling together, obviously. We don't want something that just a couple people use. We want something that the whole world uses. Um, but as far as the interplay between those two things is kind of interesting.
Okay.
So we have the core chain that everything works on, and then the new evolution chain, and that is now getting a big leap forward in privacy. So already, what was being worked on, I think I might have mentioned this before on the show. I don't remember 100%, but we've been working on an upgrade to the core side of things of privacy, adding something called confidential transactions, which would make an address type where your amounts are hidden, but your everything else is still public. So you could combine that with the coin join feature to make something much more similar to what Monero has today, let's say, for a privacy level. But more importantly, just make it all a lot faster and easier to do, but still just an upgrade of the old feature. That's still, plan the DAO voted on it. We're all doing that. Now, this other feature adds a bit of a wild card because typically I would say in most blockchains, I would say, well, let's just do both, right? Let's just keep
Mhm.
doing both. But because Dash works so fast, we have like instant transactions on both chains. You can actually have stuff in a private pool on this chain and then transact bridge out as fast or maybe faster in some cases, as if, and with as good or maybe even better privacy as if you just had a privacy feature on this chain. So there might not be a need for a privacy feature at all on the core chain in the future if we can interplay between these two things. And this is a whole can of worms and no one's figured it out yet. Obviously, we internally, people like myself and the developers have to figure what our options are. And ultimately, we would have to go to the DAO for an actual vote to say, hey, you voted to add this feature to improve Dash's privacy on the core chain. But this absolute madman of a developer built this crazy thing in a short amount of time that works better. What do we do? Like, what should we do? Should we change plans? Should we do this? The good thing, the one thing that's also sticking kind of, at least in my mind, let me just speak for myself here because there's so many people out there with so many opinions and the DAO ultimately decides. But there is an increasing call around the world for, regulations of privacy. And I know India's done some bans. I know the Emirates have. I know, obviously, the EU. This is the thing that people don't, maybe it's not publicized too well, but we did talk to lawyers after I saw the new anti-money laundering regulation that came out late last year, that basically the conclusion is any cryptocurrency that has a privacy function cannot be traded on centralized exchanges in the EU starting middle of next year. And so that's like a lot of things getting nuked from centralized exchanges in Europe. That sucks, right? Yeah. So we were kind of thinking, well, according to what we know, Dash falls under this because we do have explicit, privacy features. And so it's like, all right, so we're just going to walk away from the EU market entirely or just go underground, just be everywhere else in the world.
Ooh.
It's so the idea. It's all right. You're a beautiful.
Yeah, sorry about that. Hey, hi, I'm here.
Yes, but so if there is also, and I'm just thinking out loud here because I haven't talked to a lawyer and I don't even know if the network wants this, but if you had a completely transparent, no privacy feature, main chain, but you could just go between them in a single transaction, then maybe you qualify for legal loophole in most of the world, that then now the main chain is available everywhere and all you have to do is press one button and now you're in a completely state-of-the-art private pool somewhere else as soon as you buy from an exchange. Maybe we go that route. Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe the regulators say, I don't care if it's a completely different network and you can run infrastructure that just sees one chain. That doesn't work. So we'll have to figure it out, right? And as always, a DAO is a DAO and we have to vote on things if there are major changes like that. So there's a lot of uncertainty, which typically is not a good thing. In this case, it's a great thing because we're getting significant improvements and they really change our choices, right? Because before that, it would be like, okay, well, we kind of need to have privacy for our users. We're not going to not do that. So maybe we just have to say bye to places like the EU for a while. And now it's like, well, you mean we can get better privacy and maybe also not get delisted anywhere? Like maybe we have the option for a win-win. I don't know. But again, something we'll have to figure out.
Is your user base concentrated in certain areas of the world, or are you noticing that it's mostly spread out? Because I think that would sort of determine what you ultimately do, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Present and addressable market are obviously two different things as well. So even if we weren't in the EU, but I think the heaviest user concentrations seem to be US, Western Europe, Latin America, particularly Venezuela, and the Russian-speaking part of the world. And I think that like the Russian language is the second most by a big margin on like the Dash website and things like that. It's so, but of course, cryptocurrency for transactions is not exactly illegal in Russia. So there's a lot of Russian-speaking users who are probably in other countries somewhere. Again, what's closest to Russia? The rest of Europe, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it's as far as losing the EU market is not a good thing, I don't think. But it's not it's not just the EU, right? It's the Emirates, it's India, it's other places like that. And then also on the side of my brain, I'm always just thinking like, how much do we need centralized exchanges anyway? Because everything is moving
Yeah,
so far in the DEX way,
exactly.
and obviously you have to make deals you have to make while you have to make them. But what about when you don't have to make them?
Right.
Well, it's funny we're talking about exchanges, and Bedell, welcome, appreciate you being here. He's like, well, how can I buy Dash in the US? Well, it's go right to Coinbase because it is currently on Coinbase. No VPN necessary because he asked about a VPN here, but even from the US, you could use a decentralized exchange, the Maya protocol, right? Is there anything else I'm
Yeah.
forgetting? Joel,
Well, there's
anything else?
nothing you're forgetting, but there's something that's going to be announced this week, and I'm just going to keep it quiet for that. But
Oh, so we should have had you on later in the week. Oh,
well, basically, I'm just teasing a DEX integration that we should have gone live on Friday, but there was some like, oh yeah, we got to get this thing figured out ahead of time, but so it's just a matter of time. So you'll see it, and I'll tag you in it, I'm sure.
yeah, please, absolutely. And Andy has a question, and it's kind of more related to Dash in general, asking about why did the fork from Litecoin, etc. And she followed that question up with, sorry, with all the questions. No, man, ask the questions. We don't mind the questions. And listen, we got the guy here that's going to answer it. So
yeah.
And no reason that it has to be a final question either. So this is like lore, right? This gets really into the whole like long-term history. First of all, Dash was forked from Litecoin in 2014, but really soon after, I don't remember when, I think it was that same year, was rebased off of Bitcoin, which is what Litecoin was forked from anyway. And the reason for this is Litecoin was not under active development. People don't forget that like Charlie Lee started it as a fun project, and then he just did other things.
right.
And he didn't come back to it till 2017. And then after he sold at the end of 2017, he kind of floated away, and now he's back being involved. So it was not an actively maintained code base. You cannot base after that. So basically it was like Litecoin, oh, let's, we want something that's like faster and faster block times and things like that. So let's just start with this as a base. But then it didn't end up working out. So even though Dash does have faster at its root block times, it's hasn't been based off of Litecoin in like almost 12 years at this point. So there's that. Now, as far as Kyle, I don't remember. I wonder if Kyle is Internet Ape, but there was two founders of Dash. It was Evan Duffield and this guy called Internet Ape. I think his name might have been Kyle. He left 2014 or 15. Like really, this is before my time. He left like way early on. Okay. Evan ended up, it wasn't a fast exit, right? So in 2017, he stepped down as like the head of the core team and started doing some research on some project he called Dash Labs for a few years and stuff like that. And since then, he's sort of, just, I would say, retired, right? He just floated off and did his own thing. And I still hear from him now and again. Like I think I heard from him last year, and but he's kind of doing other things. So yeah, that's a good thing for a project to survive a founder's departure. Most don't. I mean, think about it. Like one of the notable examples it has is Monero. I don't remember the name of Monero's founder, but he left pretty much right away. Key figurehead, Fluffy Pony, still semi-involved, but kind of not. He's sort of out. So great resilience there. But like Zcash, Zuko is still very involved. And then you got Litecoin without Charlie Lee. I don't know where they'd be, et cetera. And, Cardano, Hoskinson, just go down the list. And there's a few like Bitcoin Cash that have been done pretty well without any founder involved. Although the founder actually kicked their founder out to form eCash.
You're out. Take the door. That's funny. We got a few more questions jumping on in here. And Dash competitors. I don't know if he's meaning like direct competitors per se here, but I mean, if you're looking at it from the privacy aspect, I guess you got your Monero, your actual Zcash, whatever. But like to me, the way that Dash is structured, there's not really a direct competitor. I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong. You know it better than I do.
Yeah, it really depends on what you count as a competitor, and like this is something I do actively think about, right? Because I'm thinking about what are some, who are some people to copy if they're doing right things, who are some people to like stay
Sure,
ahead of,
sure.
etc. Um, there's first of all, there's two sides of Dash, as I mentioned, right? There's the
Right.
very well established digital cash side, and then there's the much less established, very nascent, like app side. The app side, it's hard to tell. But I wouldn't like to say we have many competitors because we're not really fully up and like even though the network is up and running, we haven't like built out an app ecosystem that really works super well yet. Although I demoed Yapper and other things on here before, but I would say there's a few like ICP, for example, um, that do web type stuff pretty easily. That you don't need a backend server to run and things like that. But uh, I would say kind of like that, era, like the maybe a Solana, right? Although Solana is an elephant, right? They're very well established. They're doing a lot. So like
Yeah.
kind of like in the Solana level of that, with notable differences. On the payment side, I would say it's kind of like the closest ones. Anything that's privacy and payments, especially both of those together, is the closest. So, for example, Xano is a very close competitor in some ways in that it's a hybrid model. It has privacy. It's getting into a lot of the same integrations. And it has a private token system, which is much more similar to where we're going soon. The big difference with Xano, I would say, is from that perspective, other than being just a newer project, is also, as far as I know, they don't have any instant transaction finality features. But as far as like, a lot of similarities there. Same thing with something like, say, a Litecoin, right? Litecoin has some decent privacy features these days. They have a lot of adoption integrations, especially older ones. They're starting to pull ahead on a few things recently, but Litecoin kind of is the incumbent for payments. And, faster payments, cheaper payments, still takes a little while, but like Litecoin's kind of one of those things. Um, Zcash in some ways I would say is a competitor, but Zcash is making some, I don't know. It's as even though we're moving towards them by using their tech in some ways, they're also sort of moving further away in some ways. So you could say Monero is a great example, although Monero is very much more of a niche in terms of who uses it and why. And this like there's very little overlap in services and businesses that use like Dash and Monero typically. It's so, but I would call that a competitor. Like those kinds of ones, I would say private, but like instant. You just don't have a lot of instant transaction competitors. You have like Nano is great, but Nano is no privacy and is very stripped down, very simple. So Nano would be one of those. Pivx seems a lot like Dash. It's actually a fork of Dash, from my understanding, and has zero Zcash based privacy. Also is a proof of stake chain, although as I mentioned, part of Dash is, and also as far as I know, still has instant transaction functionality. Although I've had a hard time getting a super straight answer on that. But they're also like way down the totem pole in market cap. Firo is another one that uses a lot of Dash's tech. Is very similar to Dash. Also has some pretty advanced privacy. Maybe not as advanced as we will soon, but historically more than Dash. But also it's finality for all that. So like these are kind of like the ones in that technologically are kind of competitors. As far as ones I view as actual competitors, as far as like realistic, as far as not just on paper competitors, but actual, like I would say Litecoin, and I would say Xano's sort of the dark horse that's come out. And again, love those guys. We work very closely together, even though we're competitors, but I'm keeping an eye on them, right? And Zcash halfway, because Zcash there's still a lot that's academic in what they're pursuing, but those are like the core ones I'm looking like, how are they doing? How can I do better than them, kind of thing.
Well, you just mentioned about business integration, and that was actually one of the questions that I had aside to ask you. There are businesses already accepting Dash, especially in your neck of the woods. How will this, if at all, affect them? businesses I'm talking about.
I mean, the privacy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it should not at all, right?
Okay.
It should be that everything, and that's the big thing is like we have a lot of cool stuff on the evolution chain, but very few apps and services are integrated to recognize it directly today. But we have all this amazing adoption on the main chain for years. And so the good thing is being able to just like flip a switch and you go from one to the other and you don't even need to see it. So if you have a fully private ecosystem, right? You have fully private pool, private funds, send privately between your friends, and then you're like, oh, I need to pay this thing at Walmart, and you hit a button, and it goes out, and so now everyone sees someone bridged to the core chain and sent this payment, and this is how much it was for, but they have no idea it was you. So
Right.
that's kind of how that works. It plugs right in, and you almost don't have to. It is kind of funny because we are also building in swap features. In fact, I just had a call with a provider today, Dash to Lightning in like one click, where you do within 10 seconds, a Bitcoin Lightning Network transaction comes out of your Dash wallet allegedly. And so that's clunkier because it's radically different infrastructures, and you need a third party in between to help you facilitate that. But we're kind of internal to the Dash network. It's just so smooth to where people don't even need to know what you're paying with.
How does it work when you're conducting an external audit? Like someone's going to audit your business and you have a lot of these privacy transactions happening. If you want to open up yourself to something like that, is that something like is that ability available, or is that
Interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, so Dash's, previous teams, I should say, at least have worked with like chain analysis, for example, that make sure there's tools that let people do that. Blockchain analytics stuff is pretty well covered. As long as the blockchain supported, everything should be pretty easy. I haven't seen any problems. I always use Dash's privacy features right now, right? And in the time when they're saying, oh, mixers, tumblers, oh my gosh, this and that.
Right.
I mean, I go straight to Coinbase all the time. Again, not all the time. It's just only when you need to top up the plastic card that I test out once in a while. But I've never had an issue. I've never had a single time when I've gotten flagged, rejected, anything over the about almost decade of using Dash. So I don't think there's going to be an issue. I also think that compliance type things are getting a lot more sophisticated these days.
Yeah,
where you're having a lot more chains are going to add privacy features in, and so just like don't know where we didn't see it on the blockchain, therefore we're scared of it, is kind of a thing of the past. I think that people are seeing like, okay, what other data can we gather from like device IP timing, things like that? Are there any big red flags that come up? It should be fine, and like it depends on everyone's risk profile, everything else, but for the most part, having privacy is not a cause for concern in today, I don't think. Although, we can ask the EU that.
Well, that's funny. I was just about to bring Cameron's comment, and Cameron, welcome.
Andrew.
Yeah, they are toast. They really are, and he lists a bunch of others that are following, as well as Canada. I mean, do you? You talk with so many people. What are you hearing from? I mean, again, I know you talked a lot about those areas like the EU, that kind of thing. What about Canada? Is that one of the areas you're getting a lot of like people saying, "Yo, we need some privacy up here in Canada"?
Yeah. So first of all, this is one of those things that's interesting as a builder of tech. Again, I don't build it myself. I promote it, etc.
Sure.
But we are building in this decentralized ecosystem and world and future. We are building the infrastructure of the future. And I like the way Alex of the Maya protocol describes it. He calls it neutral infrastructure, like a road. He says you don't get mad at the road because someone's robbed a bank and took off down the road. It's just we're building public goods, right? This is what this is, kind of like a semi-private public good, but like mostly just a thing that anyone can use. It's so we want to build the most useful thing for everyone in the world, and individual government actions and mandates at any particular time are just so tiny compared to what we're trying to do. So we can't really build with that in mind, really, right? We just can't be like, well,
Yeah.
what will the regulators think of this? Like, no, we're
Yeah,
building
yeah.
something, and it's at the same time we do want to have something that's useful. So it's up to individuals and governments and businesses to decide how they're going to use this. And if a
Sure.
business like government says this is the way we will allow you to use this without getting in trouble, it's like, okay, well, that's on you guys. It's not on us building the infrastructure. There is a little bit of a interplay in some ways, um, where you do want to have a maximally useful infrastructure that can do whatever you want. And so, for example, this is something that sort of hit the Monero ecosystem. Is Monero did not have sufficient view keys or otherwise transparency features for some applications. And if you wanted to share view keys, like you want to say, look, I want proof that this happened, that I received these funds, you give a view key that would give all of your incoming transaction history. And you don't want to show off to everyone, and also
Right.
no outgoing transaction history. So you couldn't do a public donation address and just show everyone how much with transparency. And so as part of the full chain membership grade that Monero is having pretty soon, they're adding better view keys that fix these problems to add better transparency. Again, not because some government says, oh, Monero is illegal if you don't do this, but because they just realize that being able to do this makes it more useful and more people can use it around the world. More DEXs especially can leverage it. And so, yeah, that's kind of the interplay with the thing. Like, part of my thinking, of course, with the whole like EU thing, obviously can never compromise our privacy. Just not going to happen. Part of it is just thinking, do we provide a better transparency feature that they will like in some ways, or do we just sit around and wait for the EU to collapse? Like, I don't know. When is that happening? Don't say it's not happening.
Yeah.
It just like
Facts.
so many cryptocurrencies got hobbled by the SEC over the last decade or so.
Yeah.
In the US, and a lot of people built things with that in mind. And so, for example, the Maya protocol, when it launched, had a token, still has, called Maya, which if Maya token holders get 10% of all the transaction fees in perpetuity of the network. So if you bought it, that's how they raised money to fund the development of the chain and everything like that. But that's kind of sounds a lot like what would get you in trouble with the SEC. And they basically candidly said, we don't exist, we're not doxxed, and we're in Mexico, so we don't care. So that was kind of that. But now things have changed. People aren't getting sued as much. This very useful thing that you can give people, that you can mint, where if you own a certain token, you get a certain like revenue share forever. It's a very, it's like a dividend stock. It's a very cool thing to be able to mint.
Yeah.
In fully decentralized ecosystems too, but people are just scared because of regulators. And then guess what? The regulators changed. So now should have built correctly from the beginning, right?
Yeah. Don't build from the ethos of crypto, not from what regulators may or may not want. Yeah, that's a good point. And DEXs, she's saying to join with neobanks, problem solved.
Yeah, well, they are. Like, this has been going on for a few years now. I think it really started with Thorchain and the cross-chain DEXs, but I know, because I talked to a lot of them, there's a lot of apps that are like a wallet, like a portfolio app that has a DEX built in and has some spending tools built in, like for example, a prepaid card or something like that, and also has like some basic on-ramps built in, like where you do have to probably KYC to buy your crypto, but there's no custody involved whatsoever. So it's like a fully non-custodial Coinbase ecosystem. There's a lot of those out there now. Yes. And in fact, I've been looking at this because this Eon Pay thing I was talking about before, about the 50 million merchants we got around, A lot of those are integrated into a bunch of wallets. And I looked at the wallets there and I'm like, hey, isn't it coincidental that almost half at least these wallets are named after and built by some of the largest centralized exchanges, like OKX wallet, like, BitGet wallet, by Bybit wallet. There's like a bunch of these things that these giant exchanges just made a self-custodial, sometimes even open source wallet that plugs into their trading stuff, that has on-ramps, that has these spending tools. And now like they're already moving in that direction. So I think that like the idea of a custodial account as we know it's not going to be around forever as far as like the standard. And let me just go on a mini rant about this.
Go ahead, man.
Because again, I've been extricated from the system for enough time that now thinking about how everyone else lives boggles my mind sometimes, even though it is the norm. If you have a bank account in, let's just say the US, I'm sure Canada's 80% is awful, or maybe as awful, but I'm saying,
I'm sure probably.
So it's pretty close. First of all, in order to use your money to get paid, to pay for anything, not just to safely store it, but to just use your money, you have to give it all to someone else. So you don't hold any of your own money. And more than that, you give it to an institution that can give you lip if you want it back. You say, hey, can I get my money? Well, what is it for? The cash withdrawal, very suspicious. Or we decided to block your stuff. And it's not just that they can, it's that they feel that they have the right to. And at any given time, they just lease your own money. Again, they didn't give you this money, your money. And more than that, it's supposed to be a fractional reserve bank where they part of the idea of it is that they don't have your money. The entire point of a bank that has like a savings account is that they don't have your money. They have some of it. But since COVID in the US, since the C word, I don't know if you get demonetized anymore for that.
That's right.
Whatever.
But since the uncertain times in the US, banks have a 0% reserve requirement now. So it's not just fractional. It's like they don't have any money. As long as they service withdrawals or deposits or have good enough excuses to not give you your money in the time.
Good enough.
Like they don't have to have any money. It's insane. Like FTX collapsed because they were doing this at a smaller scale. Right. That they were just doing whatever with customer funds. And the fact that everyone has to do this in some countries, like in Europe, I believe you need a bank account. You can't not have one. It's like a basic ID thing. You need a bank account. Like the fact that this is like mandated is just pure lunacy that you just can't. You have to be like a weird criminal or a boomer with stacks of paper in your basement or whatever. Like that's you have to live like an animal in order to have any kind of sovereignty. It's just wild to me. So the fact that crypto is moving people away from this model, I mean, it's great. Yeah. But it's also like the bare minimum. I think the fact that we're getting back to actually having money where we didn't have money before. It's just like, you'll own nothing and be happy. It's like, well, we'll actually own something for once.
Yeah, facts. I'm just gonna I want to say thank you to Kevin. Welcome, by the way, and thanks for sharing this out. Appreciate you. And I wasn't gonna bring this up, but I figured he can't be the only person talking about price movement and action with regard to Dash, and the entire market is kind of moving around in the crapper right now. You know what I mean? So, but in my opinion, and Joel, I'll let you answer that or comment on that in a second. I see the current price level as being kind of like a base for this. Dash hasn't gone down much below this. And I think that is because it's getting a lot of use, or at least from what I can see. So please tell me whatever you got.
Yeah. And obviously I have no idea for sure about anything, right? I can guess. And my guesses are, you kind of see this because of like the way prices tend to move. To me, there's like it's just like how much of it is cake and how much of it is like whipped cream on top, right? How much of it is like fluff. And I kind of feel like most crypto is like 98% fluff. and you see it because the fluff goes away really fast. And so what I care about the most, and I'll take the fluff because fluff pays some bills. It gets new integrations and things, right? I'll take it when it has it. But as far as I'm aware, the price floor is where I like to see things, right? Where I want the floor to be higher. It's not raise the roof, raise the floor. So from my understanding, the floor is the real utilitarian market price as far as this is what the market's willing to pay for what it does, for the number of users, for everything else.
Exactly.
And so that's something you can fix and move up. And that's something where you have a certain amount of resilience where the price goes up and then free fall crash and then it just hits the floor, because that's where people start to actually need to use the stuff, right? There's a certain amount of, oh, I need it to buy for this. I needed to sell to provide liquidity for that exchange and this. And there's, there's utility there, and that just has that solid floor. And then when you see these astronomical spikes and things like that, that's speculation. And so we've seen this, for example, with like Zcash, right? Zcash was at its floor for a long time. Then you look at the transaction numbers, you see like that, and it's like, okay, that makes sense. And then a bunch of, I would say a lot of it deserved hype, but still hype nonetheless came in and just rocket ship, just goes crazy to the moon. And then, some of that blows off, but, still doing pretty well. You look at Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, from what, 125 to, what is it, half of that today? Kind of did like a 50% dip in the last few months. And that's the big daddy at cryptos. Like, there's a lot of fluff. And if you see people like Saylor ranting for more than 2 seconds, you realize where the fluff comes from. Like, it's not rocket science that this is not like, oh yeah, everyone's pulling out their phone and paying with this stuff. It's like, no, it's a lot of number go up. So here's my expectation, right? I personally expect that this was the last pumpy cycle that we just went through, and it wasn't really that pumpy. I kind of feel like meme coins killed it for everyone, but like also everyone's like, well, wasn't there an alt season, or oh, Bitcoin can't have had this top at 125 or whatever. That can't have been the top. I think it can be, because the free money is running out. And I know a lot of projects are going to struggle. A lot of people are going to get laid off, all that kind of stuff. But I think that it's now like the total market cap and activity and everything of all crypto is going to keep going up, but it's not going to be like fluff. It's not going to be nothing. And so the thing that I'm sweating about every day, a little bit, is how am I going to put users on chain? How am I going to get more people using this stuff? And I'm not sweating that much. Keep building better and better products. And, we're about to, we're within a couple weeks at least. I've received conflicting messages about which part gets released when, but within a couple weeks at least, if not tomorrow, somewhere in that range, you're going to be able to earn your salary in Dash just with your normal employer at like a under 1% fee total for that. So it's way cheaper so you can just dollar cost average 20% or whatever in. There's some new savings technologies that we're working on that you could get some serious discounts, kind of like by spending Dash's money. There's a lot of cool things. So I'm not worried, but I'm still like, it's just like if you have like an ultimate deadline by which you need to have your house clean before people come over. Even if you're like, even if you have plenty of time and you can do it, you still just, I got to get this done. And what we have to get done as a space, we have to get users in the next couple years. 5 years from now, you're not going to have ghost chains like, who's going to catch a stray today? Well, Cardano, let's just say. You can't have that market cap with that number of users is not going to exist 5 years from now. So you better start onboarding.
Yep. Nope. Appreciate that. We got a bunch of questions queued up here, Joel. I hope you got a little bit of time. Thoughts about comments on the algorithm, and she followed that up with this one.
Yeah, I think she's talking about the mining algorithm. So X11 was Dash's mining algorithm. That's why um Dash for like a week or something, its name was Xcoin, and it's X. So that's why every Dash address starts with an X right now, like the old school Dash addresses. So X11 mining algorithm used 11 different mining algorithms in the same, and so Dash is the number one X11 mined chain. So yeah, I guess that's that. It's been chugging along. Miners are less a part of the ecosystem as they used to be, but they're still there. They're still the base of the base network. And yeah.
Okay. And I know this was something that we discussed. There's actually, I think, a couple of different questions here, but something we discussed when you were on last time. But if you wouldn't mind just maybe touching again on this for people, obviously, who weren't on that last stream.
Yeah. So if you run a Dash master node, you get yield, I guess. What you basically get paid to run a node. And so you run a node, you run essential services, things like that, and you have to prove ownership of 1,000 Dash, and therefore you get rewards from it. And so some people consider that passive income. Passive income, I think, is kind of a scam anyway. I don't think it really exists, but like as far as something, it's not like a job.
Right.
But as far as a thing you run that then you get money for, then there it is. And so you can do joint masternode setups, like getting together with a couple friends in a little multi-sig, run a masternode together, and then you sign a transaction where anyone can broadcast to get their automatic refund if you want to dissolve the node. So you can do stuff like that. There's a company called CrowdNode out of Denmark that's a fantastic. I love those guys. And they have a pooled Dash masternode service they've run. They've run for many years. They have it integrated into the Dash wallet as well. So you could deposit like a half a Dash and start earning on that. That part is custodial, but it's not KYC. And so what I'm looking forward to is some interesting ways of getting that in a much more kind of dynamic and modern sort of yield setup where the purpose of the whole setup is not to give people yield, it's to incentivize people to run the network. But so if you do want to increase capital, get more people in, I've been brainstorming ways of like tokenizing shares of this. So again, now that we have tokens on the Evolution chain, I can think of a few ways you could issue tokens that would just auto get yield. So you just buy the token, you get yield from it automatically. And so that's something I'm thinking about. But yeah, so you can earn it, and I think that has a lot to do with why Dash went crazy in 2017. Is it was the only real like yield coin, like nothing else really had yield at the time. And I do know people were saying, like buy a masternode and you're set for life, that kind of stuff. PivX also had masternodes that came out around that time. They went to the moon, I think got even up to the top 20 at one point. And then I kept on saying like the masternode du jour coin pop up during that time where it's just like, you missed the Dash boat, you missed the PivX boat, but you didn't miss this boat. Get in, like
there's a whole hype cycle on that one.
Yeah, and now yield is like everywhere, and people don't trust it. That's what I like about Dash is, again, 12 years of working, and it's pretty. You can, sounds weird saying you can like trust the yield, but at least it's not like a fly by night thing that, oh yeah, they have money now and then they ran out of it, and it's like, well, 12 years still works, still pays people out, still has real utility. It's a lot safer than a lot of these things.
And I'm skipping the line on questions because this is related to what you're saying right now. It's 1,000 Dash basically, right?
So like $3,200 too.
Yeah, because bring that chart back up if you have it ready, Jar. Go ahead and bring it back up because he also said, I think he was trying to do the math in his head, and welcome, by the way, to figure out exactly what that cost would be. But Jar just kind of did it for you right there. But
so 3,200 46,
yeah. So
the specs for the specs are pretty minimal to run this on a VPS, right? I think it's like 2 CPU cores, 4 gigs of RAM, not very much on the hardware side to get it up and running.
Yeah. Now there's the Evolution Masternode type, which requires 4,000 Dash. That's a little beefier. but it's still at this point not too crazy. The funny thing is there is something called like a proof of service ban that you can get. Basically, if you don't maintain uptime and specs and things like that, then you can just get kicked off the network, even if you just can start skipping payments, even if you still have your collateral and stuff. So you're not being paid to just hold money; you're being paid to run the network, and so it's a very robust system. Yeah.
Yep. But now, I mean, in comparison to when, again, Dash was like $80, I don't know, a few weeks ago, a month ago, and much better buy-in right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Jar, anything you want to add? Because I mean, I know you're hosting these nodes on the Node Factory, or one of these nodes.
Yeah, we have a Dash node that we're hosting on the Node Factory. We're looking at other ways of fractionalizing ownership, something that you were talking about, and we talked about this on the last stream as well. We might have some other opportunities that we can explore, but I was actually just going to get into the yield side. That's because that's where everyone is interested in when it comes to holding the token. And with the sidechain, is this going to bleed over to that new sidechain that we built right now?
Yeah, so the infrastructure to run all the stuff is just all on the main chain, right?
It's all on the main
master
chain,
nodes
right.
or Evo nodes. You do get the thing about what Evo nodes do is as they run the evolution network, they get fees and stuff like that from usage of just that network, where other master nodes don't. Of course, long term, if you have a big pile of Dash, you'd probably, like, say you have 10,000 Dash. You're like, okay, you're gonna have like run 2 Evo nodes and then 2 master nodes or something. And as one becomes more profitable, you might switch some over, depending on how things work. But the thing is, there's a lot more the revenue from payments, especially if you're trying to do cheap payments. Like, how many transactions do you have to put through the network at like a couple cents a transaction in order to like pay the bills? Like, that's a lot. Right. However, that represents a lot of users with heavy users. But how many people do you have clicking buttons on a social media network? How many people do you have uploading their entire social network metadata all into one, just all on the network, et cetera? And all those fees then get, taken out of circulate. All the data storage fees get paid out over a long period of time on the Evolution network. So that's kind of where all the money making I expect to happen, especially when you start using a lot of privacy. Now you have to send 2 transactions for a while, right? One on each chain, then both sides get paid, and then that's kind of where that goes. Now, we're yield and stuff like that. So first of all, there's DEXs like the Maya protocol. You can provide liquidity in the Maya protocol pool, and you just put Dash in there, and you get part of the Dash. You get the Dash fees that go in there, right? So anytime you have like a lot of swaps, and we're integrating Maya swaps into the Dash wallets very soon, like within weeks, hopefully. So then anytime people go through that people who are staking Dash in the liquidity pool get some of that. When we get on other DEXs, the same thing will apply. We'll have internal things like that as well. One thing's for example, there's some interesting things you can do with Dash's token system, such as make the contract owner pay for fees or be able to charge fees in tokens. So for example, if you minted a stable coin, you could charge like a flat fee of like 10 cents per transfer in the stable coin, and you actually pay the gas fees themselves. So therefore, any customer of yours, they don't have to have Dash. They just have the stable coin. They don't need any gas, and can just send it around. And then, okay, maybe that's a yield opportunity. Maybe
that's interesting.
Do something like that. There's a lot of those kinds of things that could be cool. What I would really love to do, as I mentioned, though, is find a way to tokenize Evolution Masternode shares and things like that. Like tokenize it so you could just buy and hold a token and you just auto accrue funds.
It just puts it right.
And then, so for example, a Masternode, a pooled Masternode company could just, this is the way I have it envisioned. I am pretty sure it's all technically feasible today. You could just, let's just say, run 12 masternodes and then mint 12,000 of like tokenized shares of this. And then anytime you get a payout, you auto send proportionally to
Right.
to you. You can all look it up on the network as far as all the addresses that hold this token, and proportional to how much they get, each of those addresses gets an auto payout. And so you just have a script that just auto pays out to those things as you go. And so then you just sell these tokens for like 1 ratio each. And so you can say keep 15% of the master rewards internally and then pay the rest out to the collateral holders.
Yeah.
And then it just goes. And if people say, I don't want to stake anymore, they just sell it. You don't have to
Sell
care.
it.
They just sell tokens to someone else.
Right.
And an interesting thing too, this gets a little bit more in the weeds, but you could create a unified staking token. So then there's another Dash masternode operator who spins up, and they have 10 masternodes, and they want to use the same token that you do. You could have a federated model, right, where it's like it's like a multi-sig of who can issue and burn these tokens. So you both have to agree, and you add them to the federation. And so then you mint another 10, 10,000 tokens out there. And so now each time either of you guys do a payout, it goes kind of socializes it to the entire token base. So therefore, if you buy one of these tokens, it represents a share of one of these two companies. And you could add another company if you wanted, or if some companies say, I got to cash out, I'm getting out of the business, then someone else could maybe rebuy their tokens or something like that, or spin up Dash in exchange, and then they can decide to then burn the tokens of whatever. So basically, by adding like a federated model, it's less that you're having one company's tokenized shares, you're just having of all these together. It's not perfect, but this is, as far as I understand, doable now. When we get smart contracts, I think it'll be easier to abstract away more trust and just make it more like a Lido type thing, for example.
Yeah, I love that idea. Fractionalized shares. And everything's automated. There's nothing really to manage if it's all automated on the back end.
Yeah, exactly. Just query the addresses that have the token balances, and then automatically proportional.
That's a really smart idea.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, sorry. Did you have a question? I just threw this one up here. We're almost done. We're almost to the end.
Yeah.
Decentralized insurance protocol. Have we ever just? That starts to get complicated, but sure. Funny enough, there is a company out of Brazil called 88i that the Dash Investment Foundation invested in that does micro insurance, and they have a pretty good business. So basically that means that you jump in an Uber ride, and then during the Uber ride you buy an insurance policy for just the ride, and then it's done when you're over. It's like a very tiny payment for it, right? And they're doing pretty decent business from my understanding. And also from my understanding, they're going to build part of their stack on the Evolution chain as well. So I'm not exactly sure what the timelines are. I haven't checked in on this. I've been busy with other stuff. It's outside of my specific domain, but there are things like that you could do. Some things like that could necessitate smart contracts for the more advanced parts, but so like all that is, very doable. If this, then that. The interesting thing is the masternode system works really well for voting, because obviously you already vote on budget proposals, right? But also when you get a premium username, like a really short one, like Coca-Cola or something, the masternode network votes on if you get that name or not, if you're an imposter or whatever. So I think it would be easy to build in almost like that as like an Oracle type system for like arbitration. So you could just say, like, just sort of how Polymarket has it right now, where you could decide, did this thing get triggered? And then the network votes on, did this thing get triggered? Yes or no? So yeah.
And I'm assuming she's talking about how to fund that insurance protocol when she's saying this.
Using the dust,
Yes.
Using dust. Well, the thing is, who owns the dust?
Well, and that's what I was just thinking. Doesn't the user own the dust? So
exactly.
That'd be like a donation then, right? If you're looking at it for that.
So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm misthinking it, but she has one more that she's popped in here, and this is it. We'll be done with them. We can almost wrap up. I think she meant current environment though. And here,
no, current environment.
Yeah, carrot. Yeah, well, it could be carrot stick. Yeah. Exactly.
In the current vegetative state of the market,
Yeah, like
environment,
that's exactly what it is.
with cryptocurrency, these protocols should be focusing on one specific need or several masternodes. Yeah, it's an interesting thing about like, should you do one thing in your life or should you do more than one thing? It's like, wow, yes is the answer. Yeah, kind of both. So here's the reality. As far as product market fit and user base, you do need to get a lot of users with one killer app. Now, Bitcoin made it easy for them because the killer app was buy it, and there you go. It's like
Right.
it works.
Right.
And Ethereum has a few, but like stable coins are a big thing that is done on Ethereum. DeFi stuff, NFTs are a passing thing. Like meme coins and all that degeneracy is Solana's killer app for a while. I mean, they're trying to pivot to other use cases, but then Monero is like libertarians and drug money kind of thing, right? That's kind of like the killer app there. And then like everything has their own killer app, and obviously we're trying to focus on digital cash, like the original use case, but make it actually work.
Right.
But so everything does need one killer app to start, because otherwise you have zero killer apps. You have nothing. You need something that sticks. Now, on the other side, the base network needs to be able to do enough things to sustain enough killer apps. And so this is one of those things where like old school Bitcoin proved insufficient. Like, and then, okay, well, what if we do Bitcoin with privacy? It's like, well, you need privacy, but then also if I want to send you money, how do I write what that was for? How do I send to you, to a friend, crypto jar on the Dash network or CCN or whatever? You need usernames, contact lists, encrypted metadata. So your blockchain needs those features just to be able to pay, just to be able to do money. And then it's like, all right, well, and who is sending these weird gas tokens? Well, crazy people like me, maybe, but a lot of people want like a dollar value or something like a stable coin. It's okay. Now you need to do tokens. Okay. And so now what if you want your tokens to get like an automated yield, like a savings account? It's like, well, maybe you need smart contracts and a liquidity pool. And before you know it, the feature creep starts going out of control. And so there's like, for example, there was a coin called Raven Coin back in the day.
I'm still holding some.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, I never, don't want to be a hater, because I know a lot of people that are, that started it back when they were big. But basically, I think it was a great idea, but it also, like, without the extra features like smart contracts and stuff like that, it just made the tokens not really worth it to use. So it just kind of didn't kick into its full use case. Right. So I think that you definitely need enough features to do everything you want. And some things you might not need massive features for. It's so, for example, I do think that like 80% of the stuff that the Dash Evolution network can do does not need smart contracts. But how can you get someone to build on it long term if you don't have smart contracts? Right. Or are they going to use something like, say, Solana, that doesn't do a bunch of the stuff we do nearly as well, but also just does, they're like, well, but what if I wanted to add this DeFi liquidity protocol in there? And it's like, I'm just going to do Solana. I don't care if it sucks, just because. So you just have to make sure you have everything. It's just like, if you don't have privacy, well, we don't need Monero level privacy or Zcash level privacy. It's like, okay, well, what if people start getting scared that they're not going to use your thing if they get found out? Okay, maybe you do. Maybe there's this other lesser ecosystem, but it has this, and people go over there. So it's this weird balance between, you need to do one thing really well and then just sort of build out around it. The way I try to think of it is, you have something in mind, like a killer app in mind, and then you build all the things into the protocol necessary to do that. And you start to hit limitations from the product side. And you're like, okay, we can't do this. Let's do that. Okay, let's build this in. And then you kind of build this feature moat around your key use case until it works really well.
Yeah.
And then on the side, like freebies that you get, other use cases that pop. Oh, guess what? Now that we have all these features that we needed to do this really well, we can do this too. And then you start branching out from there. That's kind of my mental model. That's kind of what things are going. I kind of talked about the social network Yapper before,
Yes.
and that it's working. It's fine. Every time you run into protocol level limitations that are like, okay, now this is going in the next version. So like one of these things, it's a very complicated database structure to all this. But one of the things that was missing is something called count trees, where it's basically a way to query the network and find like a total sum of things. So for example, if you wanted to sort posts by the most liked posts, that would be really annoying today, because you'd have to say, okay, compute all the one like. You have to process query each one individually up until, and then you add it together, and it'd just be super clunky. Whereas with count trees, my understanding is you could just say, what's the total number of actions on this thing, and just gets a very nice, quick little proof, and you get it. So there's some things like that. It's like, okay, I want the app to be able to do this. The protocol doesn't support it yet. Let's tweak the protocol until it does, and then just keep doing until we have a couple of really well-oiled machines that are kind of running on this.
I agree.
Yeah,
And,
I signed up on Yapper. I have an account there. Gonna be messing around.
Was
with
that
it.
you just like today?
Yeah, literally today.
Yeah, I saw someone called CryptoJar on there. I'm gonna have to.
Me. Yeah.
You know.
That's who.
Still testnet.
That's who. There you go.
It's just I also have I was making a Matrix Money account as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, well, play around. Here's the thing about this. This is what testnet is for, right? Play around, follow people, send DMs. I'm on there too. Send me DMs. I'll check them. I do use the Yapper every day at least. So add tipping addresses. See if I want to tip you. Build a storefront. Sell fake stuff on there or whatever. You can sell real stuff too, by the way. Even though the Dash network stuff isn't real, you can actually take real other cryptos as well. On it. Yeah. I have a personal compliment store there where I have actually taken fake money for personal compliments.
I remember you thought about that.
Yep. I like it.
So yeah, you can just and also run into limitations and be like, this is what we need to make this stuff work, and then we'll get to that. Notifications are finally working, which is nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, block by block, it comes together. Definitely testing has everything to do with it. CCM, do we have any more questions, or is that do we run through them all?
The only other question I was going to ask him. So what can we expect coming forward here, maybe in the next 6 to 12 months? But he's already telling us that maybe next week or the end of this week we may see some new things. So I don't know, Joel, if you want to like maybe just kind of put something out there to wrap us up here with regard to things with Dash, whatever you want. The floor is yours.
Well, before I get into all that stuff, just a quick bit of like, I guess, business development, open sourcing a little bit.
Sure.
There for EVM protocols and other kind of those types of things doesn't really matter as much, but for the old school, this is kind of a shout out to the old school networks of you need to get integrated into the Wallet Connect ecosystem. Everyone who has used a wallet before that does any Web3 stuff, there's a protocol built in there called Wallet Connect that basically lets you connect a random wallet, like MetaMask style, to an app. And so, for example, when connecting with DEX front ends and things like that, it really helps to be able to connect, and then you can swap for whatever. Dash is getting in here finally, and it's very important because also the next generation of payment protocols is leveraging stuff like Wallet Connect, where in the past, back in my day, when you wanted to use crypto to pay for something, it would just give you like an address or a QR code that you could. The first protocol was BIP21, where you scanned a QR code and it would enter the currency and the address and the amount all in one go. So you scan and it just pulls all that into the wallet. That was like the super old school 2012 one. And then you have BIP70, which connects to a server and does anyway. The days of you being able to just go to a crypto checkout and then copy and paste an address or scan a QR code that just does the payment info is coming to a close. I think it's not going to be that common in the future. Everyone connect your wallet for everything. And if you can't connect your wallet, you're going to be boxed out. So for the OGs, Wallet Connect is a great standard that helps that. And Wallet Connect is also a company that has like a payment thing that's getting into like Ingenico point of sale systems, for example, to be able to pay directly at some of these larger retailers. So that's just my freebie I'm throwing out there for anyone who deals with crypto protocols and like does what I do, kind of like, pay attention to that. So
interesting.
What's coming?
That
privacy. Yeah. So we already covered the Orchard privacy thing this year. It's got to be this year, right? Hopefully the first half of the year, hopefully within the next 6-8 weeks. Let's see. Depend on how optimistic we get. So you're going to have that stuff like Yapper on mainnet and an ecosystem of apps that use the same stuff is going to start to come out this year as well. Crypto payroll around the world is like very, very soon. And a new DEX, there will be more in the future, I'm sure, but for one more new big one, a Dash to anything feature in the wallet where you can just send Dash to a Monero address, for example, or to Lightning or whatever. That's hopefully coming soon. Again, it depends on how much I want to abuse the poor wallet devs. And more payment integrations, including more ways to save. There is also going to be a Dash branded debit card that you will have soon.
That's awesome.
And that'll be fun. Unfortunately for the people that love privacy, probably will be KYC. So if you can go from Dash to balance on that in like 10 seconds anyway. So like, the risk is not that big. So there's a lot of that. And then what I just really need to do is push this to people, get everyone using it. And we have the next 4 years, let's just say, right? Or let's just say this is the first of the bear years. Next is another bear year. 28, 29 are the bull years, historically speaking. This is the time frame we have to get things ready for mass adoption because it's coming. It's coming fast, and I'm seeing all the companies under the surface that are starting to turn on, make the partnerships, get crypto payments in.
Right.
It's all happening now. So we're going to get there. So what we need to do is really get all the best tech out there as fast as we can. So we're not dealing with some crappy CBDC stablecoin thing, and that's it. And yeah, we need to get ready for that. And also our crypto protocols that we like need to start getting some fees on chain, or they're going to go broke and no one's going to use it and your bags go to zero. So it's a short time frame, just a few years before everything's going to have to print massive revenue on chain or just go bankrupt. So get moving. Like this,
do or die.
See these extra grays popping into the beer and stuff. Like, that's what it is. Do or die. It's the do or die time.
Yep,
absolutely.
Listen, I've been doing an entire series called Crypto Mindset Minutes, and at the end, I put a your move section in there, which tells people, okay, what can you do? And every single one I've been putting in about utilizing Dash, specifically Dash. So I mean, I talk Bitcoin, obviously, but you want to use it. To use it, that's the one. And I'm going to keep doing that. I know it's not, going to tons of people right now, but I'm hoping, as you said, as we get to this mass adoption, that more and more people are going to see it. So,
yeah, and that's another thing. Again, could be another hour, but we can probably just wrap it up. But I'm going to tease something, I guess, is one of the biggest problems with crypto before we get the masses on it is self-custody, is how to do it safely in a recoverable way. And one of the big things is there's 3 big problems, right? And one is it's just a pain in the ass to back up because you got to write down the stuff, and it's just
Right.
being able to back it up. There are some tools like Ledger and OneKey sell these NFC cards that will just auto populate your private keys into something. So if you lose your phone, you just tap it and it gets it back in. That's one. Two, you need some sort of a 2FA type thing where you don't just have all your key access on one app where if someone takes your phone, they can spend all your money. You need something, and that's kind of what a hardware wallet is. It's sort of like a 2FA type thing. The other thing that we really don't have very well, and there is some company that does something really good with this that I'm trying to convince to do other things, is recovery in case not in case of loss, but in case of compromise, where if someone gets your keys, then how do you kick them out? Like, you can't. It's really hard these days. And if you just have cash, like a cash wallet, and they take all your money and you're sad, okay, but you get another wallet, or you get in there in time and take it all out. What happens if this thing is tied to these keys are your identity, and they're tied to your credentials, and they're tied to your other things, and it's like literal identity theft, permanent. No one's going to use this system. They're just not. So we got to figure that out. And I'm working on some stuff, but we got to figure it out.
Yeah, that's scary. That's definitely scary.
Absolutely. That's the way we're moving. That's the way we're moving.
Yeah, and fast. Absolutely.
So, I don't know, Jar, you want to wrap us up a little bit here or what?
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on. Super knowledgeable.
You know?
What's that?
Absolutely. I was just saying thanks to Joël. So thank you, man.
Once again, thanks a lot. Appreciate having your time. We're over an hour and 20 minutes. We had over 240 people listening. So appreciate everyone that joined in. Smash the like on your way out. And thank you very much, Joël, for your time.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right. Thank you, man. All right. We'll see you all next week. We're here again on next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not expecting that Joel's going to be joining us.
But you never know, right?
At least right now, anyway. All right. Hey, have a good night, everybody. Take care.
Cheers. Have a good one.
All right. Peace.